Hello there, my name is Gary Sims from Android Authority. Now, people are always wondering what is the best smartphone that you can buy. Now, we're trying to take the guesswork out of that decision for you. And in this instalment of Best of Android, we're turning our attention to batteries. Which smartphone has the best battery? So if you're ready, let's go. Now, before we get started, let me remind you of the smartphones that we're looking at in our Best of Android series. I'll give them to you now in no particular order. We're starting with the Sony Z5 Premium, then we're looking at the Nexus 6P, then the LG V10, the Note 5, the Motorola Droid Turbo 2, which internationally is known as the Moto X Force, and the BlackBerry Priv. Now, which of these devices has the best battery? We're going to find out. So really the first question is, which phone charges the quickest? If you're going to always be needing to charge your phone every day, if you're going to need to be charging it on the move, it's good to know which phone can charge quickest. So let's have a look at our test results. As you can see from these results, the Moto X Force actually has the quickest charging time at just under 70 minutes. In second place, you have the LG V10, followed by the Note 5. Unfortunately, the worst performance comes from the BlackBerry Priv, which takes over 150 minutes to reach full charge. Now, there are different ways of testing the battery. One is to use some battery testing apps, which is what we've done. Another way is to do manual testing and kind of use a stopwatch to see how many minutes you can get out of the phone. We've done that as well. Let's start with the battery testing apps. So here you can see we use two different testing apps, Antutu and Geekbench, and the higher the score, the better. And we can see from this that the Moto X Force has the highest score for Antutu, and we can also see that the Moto X Force has the lowest score for Geekbench. So that gives us an interesting situation. One app tells us the phone is very, very good, and the other app tells us the phone is very, very bad. So actually, I'm not really going to put much stock in these results. I think it's better if we turn to our manual testing and see what we found out. So to test the standby time, what we did was take each phone and reset it to the factory defaults. Then we added a few social media accounts, a Gmail account, and the BBC News application, and then switched the phone off and see how much the battery dropped over a period of 24 hours. Then we used that number to extrapolate to see what the total standby time would be. So let's have a look at the results. As you can see, the best standby time came from the Nexus 6P with almost 220 hours of standby time. Next came the Galaxy Note 5, followed by the BlackBerry Priv. Now, the worst score was registered by the Moto X Force, aka the Droid Turbo 2, with only 133 hours. However, you've got to remember that 133 hours is over 5 days, so even our worst score here is actually pretty reasonable. For our next test, I wrote a particular custom app that we're going to use, which cycled through 6 web pages, leaving a 20-second pause between each web page. The phones were using Wi-Fi, not 3G or 4G, and we let this run from 100% battery all the way down to less than 5%, and just saw how many hours you could sit there loading web pages, simulating a quick pause as you read the web page, click on a link and onto the next web page. So let's have a look at the results. So 3 phones here got very good scores. The LG V10 came in first, followed by the Galaxy Note 5, and then the Moto X Force. Now, each of these achieved over 550 minutes of web browsing time. The worst score here was registered by the Nexus 6P with just under 400 minutes. Remember those battery testing apps I talked about a few moments ago? Well, one thing that does come out of the Geekbench battery test is a maximum number of minutes that the phone will work for. And here are the results that Geekbench gave us for its runtime numbers. The best result comes from the Galaxy Note 5 by a long way, followed by the Nexus 6P and the Sony Z5 Premium. However, as with other tests, I don't really put much stock in these results. For the next test, we looped a HD video around and round and round again to see how many hours you get of video playing on each of these devices. Again, we started at 100%, we set the video running, and we left the phone right down till it discharged or somewhere under 5%. So if we look at these results, we can see that the Galaxy Note 5 had a very, very impressive run. In fact, it managed over 10 hours of video playback, which is quite impressive when you consider the resolution and the size of the screen on that device. In joint second place, we find the BlackBerry Priv and the Moto X Force. The worst score was registered by the Z5 Premium, but again, you might be able to excuse that because it has, of course, got that 4K display. So what does all this mean? Well, the phone with the fastest charging time was, of course, the Droid Turbo 2, the Motorola X-Force. Now that is an amazing charging time of just 69 minutes, especially when you consider the size of its battery, 3,760 milliamp hours. However, it didn't do so well in all of our tests, didn't really win many of the tests. Now, the phone that had the best standby time was the Nexus 6P, but again, when it came to the video looping test and it came to the web browsing test, it didn't do that well. Now, the phone that seems to give you a reasonable charging time and seemed to be good at generally through all the tests was in fact the Galaxy Note 5. Now, if you want to see all of the individual reports and all of the individual numbers, then please check out the written companion that goes along with this video on the AndroidAuthority.com website. Also, please don't forget to check out our other Best of Android videos that we are publishing around at this time. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to the Android Authority YouTube channel. You can follow me on social media, and don't forget to check out our other videos. And as for me, I'm going to see you in my next video.